Right, Bismillah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We had started with Ahkamul Miyah. We're speaking about the different types of water. And just to recap, I had drawn it like this for you. Okay. We said the first category, which we already took, is called Tahur. Tahur. Fatha hiya, Dhamma hiya. Definition of Tahur is it itself is clean. Tahirun fi nafsih. And not only that, mutahhirun li ghayri. It can cleanse other things. I'll give you the example of orange juice or milk. Orange juice or milk, it itself is clean, but it cannot cleanse something else. Okay. So here we're speaking about that which is clean and it cleanses. And that's normal water, natural water, the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created it. And then we said, what is this tahur? You find rainwater, seawater, river water, spring water, well water, etc. Any natural water that's created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, water the way Allah created it. Then we said that this water, it could be mixed with something, okay? They call it ikhtilat. Okay, ikhtilat is to mix. So notice how we're talking about tahur first. Okay. What can fall into it? Either more of it, okay? You've got here. So more water, and they don't usually mention this because it's just logic. It's just what it is. Or you've got, and notice how this whole category. So again, let me just explain to you. When you're mixing, you can either mix with something clean, and that's what we took already. So let's say something which it itself is clean mixes into this water. And this clean thing could be what they say jamid, a solid, or it could be a liquid. Okay. So you've got, for example, you've got a bucket of water that is clean from your tap. Okay. In it, you can mix something which is clean. Okay. Or, and this could be a solid. So for example, they always say if a tree branch or some tree leaves fall into the water, it doesn't make it najis, as long as when you look at it, it's still water. It's still flowing like water, still feels like water. Even if one of its properties has changed, okay, as long as it's clean. Notice how this all speaking about what's clean. And then they told you, oh, it could be mixed with a clean liquid, okay? In this case, you look at the liquid, how many properties does it have? Does it have, when they talk about properties of water, it's three things. Say, lawn, ta'am, and ra'iha. Lawn is the color, ra'iha is the smell, and ta'am is the taste. So they say sometimes these liquids have all three, and sometimes they only have two properties. So they tell you, if it's, for example, two properties, then if one changes, so let's say you've only got color, okay? Let's say milk, for example. A drop of milk falls into your bucket of water. If it's so minute, you still look at it and it's still water, you can still make wudu with it because you're considering it as water, even though something clean has mixed with it. The minute you're looking at this water and it starts becoming murky, it starts changing color, then we'll say here you can't make wudu with it. Or they say if this liquid has three properties, the minute two of the properties have changed, i.e., for example, the color as well as the smell, then you can't make wudu with it. And I summarized all this for you to say the easiest way is if this natural water has been mixed with something, look at it. Will you still consider it water? Does it still have the properties of water where if you feel it, it's like water and it flows like water? Consider it water, even if it's mixed with something. And notice how he's speaking about mixed with something tahir, which is pure. Okay. Then today we're going to take if it's mixed with something which is najis. Okay. Najis is impurity. For example, let's say you've got a bucket of water and the child urinates in it. Okay? You got a bucket of water and an animal urinates in it, etc. Here, what's the ruling on this water? You've got a large swimming pool and urine goes into the swimming pool. What's the ruling on this water? So the first thing they'll tell you is we divide water into two. Here. First is what's called al-ma'ul qalil. Al-ma' al-qalil. And this, all the madhahib have al-ma'ul qalil and kathir. However, they differ into how much, what's considered ma' qalil. Okay? Then you've got al-ma'ul kathir. So just logically, I'll give you an example. I don't have a glass with me here, but is it different if I've got a glass of water and I take a drop of urine and put it in this glass of water, as opposed to if you've got the whole ocean and a drop of urine falls into it? Logically, it's going to be different. So they say al-ma'ul qalil, water which is a little bit. In the Hanafi madhab, they mainly, the main opinion is they consider it to be 10 by 10. Okay? Say 10 dhira'as. Dhira' is your hand like this. So just say 10 meters by 10 meters for argument's sake. Okay? So you can remember. Say 10 meters by 10 meters. So for example, if you've got a swimming pool at home, let's go to the madhab. Huh? If your swimming pool is more than 10 meters by 10 meters, 10 meters by 10 meters or more, it's now considered to be a lot of water. And it's why do they differentiate? Because the rulings are different. And if it is less than 10 by 10, and they say that if you had to take water, the depth, if you had to pull out the water, you wouldn't see the bottom. So even if it's about this deep, it should be fine. So let's say, for example, this swimming pool is, let's consider it to be ma'ul qalil. Let's put them 9 meters by 9 meters, just for argument's sake. If a child had to go swimming and urinate in this water, with a child, we're talking about someone who's, let's say, 10 years old. They had to urinate in this water. According to the Hanafi madhab, any najis, anything that's impure, that falls into this ma'ul qalil, water which is considered little, it makes it impure immediately. Immediately. Hence, you're not allowed to make wudu from it. That's why. As for if it's ma'ul kathir, so let's say you've got a dam, okay, or a lake, a small lake, 20 by 20 meters, and a child urinates in it. Here they tell you that if one of the three properties of water, i.e. the smell or the taste or the color, doesn't change due to this najasa, then it's still considered pure. So the child urinated in this large swimming pool, for example. You can't see any change in color. There's no change in taste. There's no change in smell. You can make wudu from here. Do you understand? Al-qalil wal-kathir. And this they're speaking about when it's najis. The other madhahib also speak about ma'ul qalil and ma'ul kathir, but Shafi madhab, Hanbali madhab, they take by a hadith known as hadithul qullatayn. Hanafi madhab take by the 10 by 10. Less than 10 by 10, ma'ul qalil. More than 10 by 10 is ma'ul kathir. Then they tell you at times what may happen. I purposely didn't say, but no, in fact, even the Hanafi madhab, even non-baligh child, you come when you take najasa, that they don't differentiate. So you'll take that. After that, what they tell you is at times something may die in the water. Okay, so say you've got a well. I generally give an example of a well or a lake, and they have a special chapter coming. But for now, what they'll tell you, if something had to die in this water, this thing could be an insect. They say ma la dama lahu sa'ila. It doesn't have any flowing blood in it. So for example, an ant, or a grasshopper, etc. Those things, the first category, if they had to die in the water, whether it's a lot or little, it doesn't affect because there's no blood in it. Don't become najis. And number two is if there are animals that live their whole lives in water, for example, fish, if they had to die in the water, it doesn't make this water najis because a fish lives in water. And they say any other animal that does, it dies in the water will make it najis. And they obviously use this ma'ul qalil and ma'ul kathir, as I told you. And then they go on to mention, because this usually happens in those places where they have wells, for example. So you have a village where they've dug a well, a dog falls in, a cat falls in, etc. So then they give you a special chapter to say how to cleanse this well if a dog has died in it, if a pig has fallen in it, if a cow has fallen in it, etc. For now, all you have to remember is, first is whatever doesn't have blood, if it falls into it, it doesn't make it najis. And number two, if it's something that lives in water its whole life, i.e. it's not an amphibian that lives half in, half out, then the water will still be clean. Do you understand? We're going slowly, mas'ala by mas'ala, because once you know this, then you'll be able to understand the masail. So when somebody asks you a question, here I had told you this was the first thing we took. If you just keep these two separate for now, that was tahur, and we said if tahur is mixed with anything, then you've got, naturally after you've taken this, you've got water which is tahir. Tahir, it itself is clean, but it doesn't cleanse. And we said, for example, you got your orange juice, you got your liquids that are generally clean, so that's okay. And how could you differentiate? So, for example, it was tahur, and then something mixed with it. Okay, so you had a liquid. Let's say you're making a drink. You have water, which was pure, and the only way you're going to get it to tahir is you're going to mix it with something. So you got the syrup, you mix it with, and the minute it becomes drink, you find that the taste has changed, the color has changed, at times even the smell has changed. So because this tahur was mixed with something tahir, it's now become tahir, so it will fit in this category. They also mention the Hanafi madhab, al-ma'ul musta'mal. Ma'ul musta'mal is water, however, it's been used for one of two things. It's either been used, they say, for raf'ul hadath, where a person already used it to make wudu or ghusl, so that they're saying, can you reuse this water? Let's say, for example, I make wudu for dhuhr, and the water collects in a tub below me. Then the time of asr comes, I want to make wudu. They say, am I allowed to make wudu with that water or not? That water is called ma'ul musta'mal because I used it for making wudu. So the Hanafi madhab will tell you that they have a few other opinions, but the main one is it's tahir only. It itself is clean, so you can use it to clean your floor, etc. But you can't use it to make wudu. And they say that if the water has been used to cleanse something, so at times what may happen, you have, let's say you're cleaning your table, for example, and you pour some water on it and you clean. If you've got a detergent, it's going to mix with it, okay? It's going to become something you can't use. Sometimes you don't have detergent. Sometimes, like, you know, when the washing machine is, or when you've got clothes and you carry on rinsing, there comes a point where the clothes are extremely clean. There's no more detergent in them. If you had to take those clothes out, that water, if somebody had to look at it, it's still water. But they'll tell you that's also water which has been used, so you can't use it for qurbah. You can't use it for wudu. Rather, you can use it to cleanse elsewhere. So that's what they tell you, ma'al musta'mal. And generally, as we mentioned, that sometimes the sma'ut tahur might be mixed with something which is impure, and according to this little diagram here, if it's ma'ul qalil, it immediately becomes impure, and if it's ma'ul kathir, we look if one of the qualities have changed. Hence, you would see that the third category of water is known as الماء النجس. So you've got طهور, طاهر, and najis. And generally the four madhahib of this classification, where water is divided into three categories: طهور, طاهر, and najis. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, his opinion is that no, it's only divided into two. You've only got that which is clean and that which is impure, because what's in the middle, we're not going to call it water. He'll say we'll call it its orange juice or vinegar, etc. It's no longer called water. Some of the scholars mention that this is what they call khilaf lafzi. It's just difference in terms of their statements, but when you look deeper, it's not really a difference. Allahu alam. Others mention that no, there is a difference, but the only reason I'm mentioning this to you is because some people will tell you that this taqseem, this classification, and the way you divided water into three categories is not from the Sunnah. And no, you can derive this from the Sunnah also. That's why there's a hadith where some of the Sahaba came to the Messenger and they said, "Inna narkabul bahr." We ride in the sea. وَنَحْمِلُ مَعَنَا الْقَلِيلَ مِنَ الْمَاءِ. We carry with us a little bit of water, i.e. a little bit of fresh water. فَإِن تَوَضَّأْنَا بِهِ عَطِشْنَا. If we make wudu with the little water we're carrying in our boat, if we use it for wudu, we're going to get thirsty. Then they say, أَفَنَتَوَضَّأُ مِنْ مَاءِ الْبَحْرِ. Should we make wudu from the water of the sea? So I remember one scholar, he said that this hadith, you can prove for those who show the classification into three categories, because he says the Sahaba knew that the sea water wasn't najis, because if it was najis, they would have to wash their boat and their clothes and everything. So they definitely knew it wasn't najis. And they didn't know it was tahur, because they were doubting, can sea water be used to make wudu and ghusl? Does it cleanse? So whilst they were still doubting, where did they put that water in? How did they classify it? They classified it as tahir, that which is pure, but they weren't sure does it cleanse or not. This you don't have to worry about, but I just mentioned it because sometimes you might find those who are quite hard in this mas'ala. Allahu a'lam. Inshallah, we'll take in the next few chapters, they go into detail with this, especially when you're dealing with a well. How do you clean the well, etc. Did you understand? Understood? Any question? Or can I ask? Omar?
Yes, sir.
Have you seen on the internet they have what they call an ice bath?
Yeah. No, sir.
Huh?
No, I haven't seen.
Who knows what's an ice bath? It's like a small tub where they fill it with cold water and ice. You find generally people who play sports, and now it's even coming to people's houses, where they climb into this water or this ice to cool down. Yeah, Ibrahim.
Oh, you're asking who knows, so I was just raising my hand.
Do you know what an ice bath is?
Yeah, usually athletes do that.
Right,
They have.
right. So I want to ask you a question. If you've got a Muslim athlete, okay, he didn't have wudu, and he climbs into that ice bath, and then he climbs out of it. Few questions. Firstly, if he wants to now read his salah straight after that, can he read salah? Number two, what's the ruling on that water that's in that ice bath? Number three, what if another person wants to come and use that same ice bath with the water? What will you tell him?
So as long as he got a quota of his hair wet, he's allowed to do salah. And
Hanafi madhab, he doesn't have to have niyyah, huh?
Yeah, no niyyah.
Right.
So, and then
right.
The second part, it would be considered tahur, since you're adding water into water. It's just frozen water into water.
Let's say that They haven't added any more water. In fact, that's interesting because according to you, let's say this is the bath, okay? This is the bath. And you got your guy here, he came, he took his bath in here, came out, he wants to read his salah. For now, we said as long as his hair is wet, he can read his salah, right? Okay?
Right.
Now, I want to ask you, the water remaining in here, let's say another person wants to come and use the ice bath here. What do they do? What's the ruling on that water?
It would be tahir. It wouldn't be tahur since he used it for
He's used it
purification.
for qurba. He's already used it for purification. So now this
Yes.
water is considered to be tahir for the second person. I.e., if he intended, the second person also a Muslim and he jumped in, according to this opinion, there's other opinions. If he jumped in now, and this bearing in mind, this ice bath is less than 10 by 10, let's say it's about 2 meters by 2 meters. If he jumped in now and he intended to make wudu, according to this opinion, his wudu wouldn't be counted. Right or wrong?
Right.
Right. Third question, what you mentioned. What did you say when you're adding water to water? Let's say, for example, let's say when this guy came in, it was filled fully, okay? After he jumped in and, for example, he was screaming and moving his hands and everything, and then he jumped out, the water went to halfway. Let's make it easier for you guys. The water went to 60%, okay? So when the second guy comes, he fills it again with water which is tahur. He fills it up another 40%. Here, if he intended to make wudu, is his wudu counted or not?
No, because the majority is tahir.
And if it was the opposite way around, if this guy, after he jumped out, he left 40%, first guy, second guy came, he fills the tub again with 60% water. Here, if he intended to make wudu, is his wudu done or not?
Yes, since it's majority tahur.
Ahsant, well done.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What if usually it's small if it's one person. So if it was can fit more than one person and they both entered the same time, what would happen?
If it's
If they both entered the same time in the ice bath, would both of them have wudu, or
I've never thought of that question. I don't know. According to the madhab. So you're telling me, let's say it's water, which is 4 by 4. Okay. And they both entered and they both intended to make wudu from it.
yeah, basically. Yeah, basically.
According to this opinion, I don't know. Wallahu. We need to look if somebody's mentioned about it, or if there's any rules we can derive it from, according to this opinion. They both intend to make wudu with ma'ul qalil at the same time. I don't know. Very good question. Omar?
Okay, I guess if both of them enter at the same time, let's say water is 100%, then for both of them, it will divide into 50 and 50. So for the first both, they can perform the wudu and the salah, because as they have both entered simultaneously, and the water is 50-50 for them, and for the next two persons, it will be tahir, and they cannot perform wudu.
What if one jumped in and then 1 minute later it says,
Yeah,
come, and the other jumped in?
Yeah, that's the problem.
What if the first guy jumped in and then he's done like half wudu, and the second one also jumped in his half, and then, yeah, I guess you may have a point there. I don't know. Wallahu a'lam. I don't know. If you have any big Hanafi muftis, go and ask them this question. Tell him if I've got, first walk him through the whole mas'ala about al-ma'ul kathir wal-ma'ul qalil. Then tell him this, someone jumps in. See, if you have a jacuzzi, for example, generally you're going to change the water, generally. But this, ma'ul musta'mal, there is an opinion in the Hanafi madhab that ma'ul musta'mal is clean. And if you're going with that opinion, then it's fine. 50 people can use that same water. If you're going with the main opinion to say you shouldn't use ma'ul musta'mal, then I don't know. I must ask someone here also. Any other question?
I have a question regarding the Tahir water.
Yeah.
Some Sheikh Mudaffar mentions to me after I gave him the question from a mother. She said to me, like, if you have an evil eye and you doubt that from this person you have an evil eye, so you need to make that person make wudu, and from that water which is collected after their wudu, you make ghusl so that your evil eye may go off.
Yeah, some people say ghusl, some people say you sprinkle on the person like that. Allahu alam, there's those who say it works and those who say it doesn't. The problem with that is that, meaning no doubt there's people who mention it. The problem is that if you go teach people this mas'ala, unless somebody's been afflicted, it's different. Everybody starts doubting everybody else for evil eye. And then you end up going to everyone and say, make wudu, you make wudu, make wudu. And there's a hadith about that. There's a hadith of the Messenger of Sallallahu debated on its authenticity. But it's mentioned where you get the athar, something of this, and then you use it. Allah protect one and all. Always read you that and everything. And yeah, I'll tell you something after the lesson, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We have taken the first module. So far, you guys should be able to know how to greet, how to ask somebody how they are, where they're from, who's the person with you, a few occupations, etc. So let me ask. Ibrahim, ما اسمك؟
اسمي إبراهيم.
كيف حالك؟
بخير والحمد لله.
من أين أنت؟
أنا من أمريكا.
So I want now you to imagine that your brother is with you and say, this is my brother, he's a student. من معك؟
هذا أخي وهو طالب.
Well done. علم غير, ask Umar. It's all about practice. You practice, and you take it level by level. So after you know module 1 properly, then you build on that module. But if you don't know module 1 properly, then you won't be able to carry on. علم غير, ask him.
السلام عليكم أخي إبراهيم، كيف حالك أنت؟
وعليكم السلام، أنا بخير والحمد لله.
أخي من أين أنت؟
أنا من الهند.
هل أنت هندي؟
نعم، أنا هندي.
ما شاء الله. هل أنت من هو؟
هو صديقي.
من هو ومن هذا؟
ومن هذا؟
هذا صديقي، هو مهندس.
طيب.
ما اسمك؟
اسمي عمر.
أحسنت, well done. So you guys know. The Sayyida, you can ask Aisha.
السلام عليكم.
عليكم السلام.
اسمي سيدة. ما اسمك؟ ما
ما
اسمك؟
اسمك ها؟
اسمي عائشة.
كيف حالك؟
بخير والحمد لله.
And ask her, how are you also, Aisha? Aisha,
كيف
ask her, yeah?
كيف حالك؟
بخير والحمد لله. من أين أنت؟
أنا من الهند.
Ask her, هل أنت أو ما جنسيتك؟ هل أنت هندية? That's the question.
Okay.
Ask.
ه-
Ask her,
أن-
ما جنسيتك? What's your nationality? All these, you have to remember all these questions.
ما جنسيتك؟
أنا هندي.
India. Well done. Saeed, I'm guessing you know this. طيب سيدة, you ask Nuzha.
السلام عليكم.
Hold on. Let her ask you because you asked.
Okay.
Aisha. Nuzha, you can ask.
السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام.
كيف حالك؟
بخير والحمد لله. وكيف حالك؟
أنا مريض.
You can say Shafakillah. It's like, may Allah grant you cure.
شفاك الله.
Or you can say Tahurun, inshallah. Tahur. Tahur, from how we took in Fiqh, Tahur is that which cleanses. So sickness is a form of cleansing a person from sins, inshallah. Carry on.
اللهم آمين. ما جنسيتك؟
أنا هندي. وما جنسيتك أنت؟
أنا موريشيسية. ما عملك؟
Say, I am a teacher.
أنا مدرسة.
Well done. So the first module, I'm sure you guys know it fully. Has anybody made all the notes, the questions? So I told you, take one notebook, just the important questions, write them all down, and then you must just go through that. So instead of revising now 5 pages, you'll have 1 page to revise. And also for module 1 was 20 pages, we cut out about 10 pages. We want to mainly concentrate on the speaking. So if anybody has that, you can send it. And if you haven't, every single one of you, I would suggest that you make that page. And we move on to, did we take this all or we didn't? I don't think we took all this. But this is all practice. It's all practice from this role play here. All ways of practicing. I'm going to ask you. Here they want to teach you the difference between masculine and feminine. So the word mi'taf, masculine, so use هذا and huwa. The word غرفة, feminine. How do you know it's feminine? Mainly, you're going to see what this ta here at the end. Can you see here where it's got a ta? It's called ta marbuta, which is a round ta. The other ta, you write it like that with 2 dots. Like tabadal is-su'al. Here, this ta, normal ta. This one is called ta marbuta. So any word that's got ta marbuta, the word itself is feminine. So when masculine, you say هذا هو, this is feminine, هذه هي. That's what they're trying to tell you. Let me ask you, سيدة, أين المعطف? Answer as in the book.
هذا هو المعطف.
نزهة, أين الغرفة?
هذه هي غرفة.
هي ها you join this ألف and لام. هي الغرفة.
هي
إبراهيم
الغرفة.
أين الابن؟
هذا وابن.
So notice how here they gave you the word without alif lam. When they were answering, they put an alif and lam. معطف المعطف. Ibn al-ibn. Okay. علم غير. أين المصلى؟
شيخ مصلى is masculine, no? مذكر.
We had this debate in the previous book.
Yeah, I forgot. I feel like it's
That's why
مذكر.
I asked you.
هذا هو المصلى.
Is there any way it can be feminine?
Yeah, maybe because of
Maybe not. Okay, tell us the answer in the next lesson. That's why I asked you.
Sure.
طيب أين المسجد? Who's here? عمر.
هذا هو المسجد. مسجد.
سعيد.
هذا هو المسجد.
سعيد. أين الحمام؟
هذا هو الحمام.
عائشة. أين الصورة؟
هذه هي الصورة.
هي الصورة. نزهة. أين الشجرة؟
هذه هي الشجرة.
سعيد. أين النظارة؟
هذه هي النظارة.
إبراهيم. أين الابنة؟
هذه هي بنتي.
The main thing from this lesson you take away is masculine and feminine. Use هذا هو and هذه هي. Main thing. So you can summarize that whole lesson into that.
Sheikh,
Yes.
do we put the alif lam also in there in the examples?
Yeah, because you put the alif lam in the example because they're asking you about something which is you both know about. So you can't say هذا هو. He's asking you أين المسجد? Where is the masjid? So the masjid generally is something specific. So that's how you're going to answer. The masjid is here. Okay. Understood?
Yes, understood.
Right. Here, they're trying to teach you, remember it's the first module, they're trying to teach you a little bit more of the sentence structure, along with bearing in mind masculine and feminine. Aina means where, huh? So here they're telling you, Aina Sa'idun. Sa'id is a boy, masculine. Aina Sa'idatun. Notice that round feminine. So then they give you these words, okay? Ghurfa, so telling you where the person is, and then they tell you the verb, what they're doing. So how do you say that? Sa'idun fil ghurfati. So fi means inside. Sa'id is in the house. Yaqra'ul Qur'ana, reading Qur'an. Where is Sa'ida? Sa'idatun fil ghurfa. Notice how this and this is the same. However, for her, because it's feminine, instead of yaqra'u, yaqra'u is like saying he is reading. Here we have to say she. So we can't say yaqra'u. We say taqra'u. Sa'idatun fil ghurfati taqra'ul Qur'ana. So let me ask you one each. Nuzha, ayna salihun?
صالح في المسجد.
What's he doing?
ويصلي.
يصلي. It's enough. صالح في
Okay.
المسجد يصلي. إبراهيم أين صالحة؟
صالحة. هذه.
Say she is in. They've given you just have to add one word here. Salihatun. Look at the example. She is in this place.
صالحة في مصلي
في المصلى تصلي.
يصلى
Okay,
يصلى
notice how there's
تصلى.
no two dots. Well done. عمر أين شريف؟
شريف في الحمام يتوضأ.
Yeah, في الحمام. Huh? Get used to saying those حركات. Last one عائشة أين شريفة؟
شريفة في البيت تتوضأ.
تتوضأ. Well done.
Sheikh, what does the T at the end of the word refer to? Like T?
Where?
Like with T?
No, beiti. So that T, it can be beita, beitu, beiti. That's all in grammar. Why does it have a kasra? Why does it have a dhamma? Why does it have fatha? We'll learn that. What I can tell you is there's certain words when they come, these words, they'll force the next word to hold a certain harakah, either fatha, kasra, dhamma. So one of them is fi. Fi is from what's called huruful jar. Those letters which force the next word to have a kasra. So if you have fi here, you can't say fil bayta. You have to say fil bayti. Fil hammami, because that fi forces the next word to have kasra. And fi has a few other sisters. They're called huruful jar. And let's take this last one so we can finish here. They're asking you again what they've taught you, and now they're taking away a few more words so you learn the sentence structure. Man hadha means who is this? Man is referring to a human being, and ma referring to an inanimate object. So if you've got a pen, for example, you say ma hadha, not man hadha, not who is this. You say what is this? As for a person, man. Masculine, hadha. Feminine, hadhihi. Okay, it says هذا والدي عدنان هو مهندس. طيب سعيد, first one, من هذا? This man here writing.
هذا عمو عمر.
عمي. So note, sorry, take from the structure in the sentence. Here they're showing you a belonging word. Well done. So this belonging word, you say this is my father, my brother, my uncle. You add a ya. Walidi. Carry on.
هذا عمي عمر هو مدرس.
مدرس.
This is my uncle Umar. Yeah, مدرس. This is my uncle Umar and he is the teacher.
Next one, Ibrahim. من هذا؟
هذا جدي. ما هذا جدي سليم. هو
سالم.
طبيب.
سالم.
سالم هو طبيب. This is my grandpa Salim, and he is a doctor.
Next one, من هذا؟
هذا أخي صالح هو طالب.
Well done, Aisha. Last one, من هذا؟
هذا صديق علي.
صديقي means my friend.
هذا صديقي علي هو معلم.
Well done. Right, next one. They say حول كما في المثال. حول is to change. That's why if to change or to exchange. That's why when you're transferring money, they call it tahwil. Because why? It's money that's moving from you to another person. So هذا والدي. Notice how, and this you must make notes on these. If you've got a noun and you want to show that it belongs to me, you add this ya here. So this person is saying هذا والدي. This is my father, Adnan. It's possible for you to say this is his father. This is her father. This is your father. This is your father for feminine. This is our father. So slowly they're introducing you to those belonging words to say, how do you say that? First one they're introducing you is to his. How do you say something belongs to him? You put a ha at the end. It's called a dhamir. So هذا والده. This is his father. The same when it comes to an inanimate object. هذا كتابي. This is my book. هذا كتابه. This is his book. So they want you to say both of them. First say it as though it belongs to you, then say it as though it belongs to him. So first one, for example, would be, bearing in mind feminine, هذه والدتي خديجة. And if it's his mother, you would say هذه والدته خديجة. Next one, Umar. Say it both ways.
هذا ابن.
My, no, are you going this way or down? Go this way. Go to towards the left.
هذا أختي سلمى.
Why
This is my
هذا?
sister. So هذه أختي سلمى. This is my sister Salma. هذه أخته سلمى. This is his sister Salma.
Ahsan. Saeed, next one. Saeed. You with us? Okay.
Sorry,
Saeed.
sorry, my
Okay.
mic was on mute. Sorry, my mic was on
Yeah.
mute. هذا عمي عثمان. This is my uncle Uthman. هذا عمه Uthman. This is his uncle Uthman.
Saeeda, I think I'd forgotten about. You read the next two.
هذا ابني علي. This is my son Ali. هذا ابنه علي. This is his son Ali. هذه عمتي عائشة. هذه عمته عائشة. This is okay.
His aunt, Aisha. Aisha, last one.
هذا صديق
So first
Ahmad.
say this is my هذا صديقي. So you see
صديق.
what they've done is they've just given you the word. So صديق alone means a friend. Amma alone means an aunt. Ibn alone means a son. The minute you want to say belongs to me, you say صديقي. Add this ya. The minute you want to say his friend, صديقه, add this ha. So for to say mine, you add ya, and to say his, ha. So again,
هذا صديقي أحمد. هذا صديقه أحمد.
well done. Excellent. So with that, you've come to the end of module 1. As I told you that I canceled a lot of pages. We want to mainly focus on the speaking. So make your notes. If you're able to summarize this module in 1 page, do it. Because the minute you get up to module 12, module 24, and then book 2, book 3, if then you have one notebook, tomorrow you want to teach somebody, you don't even have to look in this book. Remember, it's not about the book or going through a certain book. It's about the best way you are going to learn or your student is going to pick up and learn. Sometimes you find students who don't need to know all these additions. Any questions? We've got 5 minutes, but Alam Gheer, let's go through your book because we haven't been through it for a while. Alam Gheer?
Yes, Sheikh.
Where are we in your book? I just need to get it quickly.
If I remember, we just we did the first 2 pages. We have to read Al-Hiwar al-Thani, I believe.
I think your book, I still need to go through it even more and fine tune it.
Yeah.
Because mashallah, you quite ahead. Can you see my screen or you can't?
Yes, Sheikh.
Right, I'll be Ahmed, you can be Al-Ab. اقتربت العطلة يا أبي. The holiday has come close, oh my father.
ما رأيك يا ندى?
ما رأيك? So he's speaking to his daughter. So you can see there's three people: his father, son, and daughter.
ما رأيك يا ندى? What is what do you
opinion? Yeah,
yeah,
what's your
what do you
opinion?
say here? يا ندى إلى أين نسافر? Where shall we travel to?
Yeah, Nada is a name. لدي فكرة نسافر إلى مصر. I have an idea. We travel to Egypt.
لماذا نسافر إلى مصر? Why are we going to travel to Misr?
Why should we travel to مصر? لنرى مصر ونهر النيل. So we can see Egypt and the river Nile.
موافق. فكرة طبيبة. Agreed.
فكرة طبيبة means the doctor's idea.
Oh, sorry.
فكرة
فكرة
طيبة.
طيبة. طيبة, yeah. Agreed. It's a good idea.
Yeah, موافق is agreed. كيف نسافر إلى مصر? How are we going to travel to Egypt?
نسافر بالجو. We travel by air.
أحسنت. السفر بالجو غال. Traveling by air is expensive.
إذ نسافر بالبحر.
No, not if. Even. Even is like when we travel by, like, you know, when you speak and you tell, okay, then we'll do this. Like that. That's even.
إذا نسافر بالبحر. Then we travel by sea. السفر بالبحر رخيص. Travel by sea is cheap.
كم يوما سنقضي في مصر? How many days will we spend in Egypt?
7 أيام. 7 days.
7 أيام. 7 أيام. جميل. Saying 7 days. 7 days. Beautiful. نسافر يوم السبت إن شاء الله. We travel on Saturday إن شاء الله. Then أحمد الندى say شكرا لك.
Yeah.
لك يا أبي. That's your vocabulary. So يسافر, you can see the person is traveling. يرى, to see. النهر is a river. And Nil is the Nile. يقترب, here they try to tell you it's coming closer. That's why Allah says اقتربت الساعة, is past tense. Hour is close. بالجو, that's in the A. بالبحر, by sea. I'm sure you know all these, but you must go through them. It's only for your practice. We want to concentrate on the speaking. It's 9 o'clock, but I think we can read this hiwar one more. I'll be you can read what's in blue, I'll read what's in yellow. Let's go. مدرس.
المدرس. أين ستقضون عطلة الصيف يا أبنائي? Where are you going to spend your summer holidays, all my children? إلى أين ستذهب أنت? Where are you going?
Yeah, where will you go? So he's asking a student one by one. So the first one says سأقضي عطلة الصيف في القرية مع جدي. I spend the summer holidays with in قرية. They usually refer to like the rural areas, the village, with my grandfather. المكان هناك هادئ والهواء نقي. The place they هادئ is like peaceful, and hawa is the air. So he's saying, and the air is clean.
سأقضي عطلة الصيف في العاصمة مع عمي. I will spend my summer holidays in the capital with my uncle.
So notice how he never say my summer holidays. Just technical. So he said the summer holidays, right?
Yeah, with my uncle in the capital. سأزور المكتبات والمتاحف. I will visit libraries and museums.
سأقضي عطلة الصيف بين الجبال مع فريق الجوالة. I'll spend the summer holidays in the mountains. فريق الجوالة is like, you know, a team that moves around, roams around, hikes, etc. Carry on.
سأقضي العطلة في مكة والمدينة مع أسرتي. والمدينة مع أسرتي. I will spend I will spend the holidays in Mecca and Medina with my family. سنعتمر, we will perform Umrah. ونحج, we will do Hajj. ونزور المسجد النبوي, and we will visit Masjid Nabawi.
سأقضي العطلة في بلدي. I'll spend the holiday in my country. سأساعد والدي في المزرعة. Help my father on the farm.
عطلة سعيدة يا أبنائي.
سعيدة.
wish you
عطلة. Sorry, عطلة سعيدة. Sorry.
wish you a good holidays, all my children.
Says عطلة سعيدة يا أستاذ. Wish
Oh.
you a good holiday, oh children.
Yeah, أستاذ.
Anyway, Ahsant, we stop there. This is the vocab. فريق is like a team or group. Okay, team. يساعد, to help. مكتبات, libraries. مزرعة, a farm. جوالة is like hikers. المتاحف, museums. الجبال, mountains. العاصمة, the capital city. يحج, to make hajj. أبناء, children. I'll read you fill out those, inshallah. I'll stop there. Any questions? Where's my book? Ibrahim is here. Ibrahim,
Yes, I'm here.
you read the second book. I see you like the second book. Anybody wants to read? What can I read today? Let me read. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We stopped somewhere here. I'm sure we stopped here. So again, the book is speaking about the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam being an example for us. Allah Jalla wa Ala says, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam is the good and the best example, especially for those who hope in Allah and the last day. So he's telling us that in all aspects of our lives, the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam was an example when it came to ibadah, when it came to patience, when it came to, so he's stating them. He says, he sallallahu alayhi wasallam was an example in being patient with people and forgiving wrongdoers. He sallallahu alayhi wasallam was described as neither stiff nor harsh. He alayhi salatu wasallam did not raise his voice in markets. He did not retaliate mischief, but pardoned and forgave. And this is part of a long hadith. That's why when it says number 2 here in the footnote is Takhrij, should be in Bukhari. Yes, Bukhari and Muslim. He sallallahu alayhi wasallam was an example in repentance and seeking forgiveness. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu heard the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam say, by Allah, I ask Allah for forgiveness and I repent each day more than 70 times. And for us, it's extremely important to make tawbah and to repent. And you can repent from 2 things. First is if you've committed a sin, okay, a person repents. But number 2, which a lot of people don't know, is if you're lacking in your ibadah, for example, so you know you're supposed to perform your salah, let's say 100%, and you know that you've performed that salah 60%, 70%, that other 30% you make istighfar. You know, for example, you're supposed to be obedient to your parents. And let's say you feel that even though you're obedient, you definitely would have fallen short here and there. You make istighfar. You're supposed to help other people in the ummah, and unfortunately you can't, for example, you make istighfar. So 2 things you make istighfar from: lack in your wajibat or sin or mistake you may have committed. It says, by Allah, I ask Allah for forgiveness and I repent each day more than 70 times. He alayhi salatu wasalam was an example in performing acts of worship. Aisha radiallahu anha said the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to stand in prayer at night until both his feet or legs swelled. I asked him, why do you do this, O Messenger of Allah, when Allah has forgiven your past and future sins? He sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, should I not be a thankful servant? And on the point of Qiyamul Layl, as a student of knowledge, firstly make sure your wajibat are in order, or your furud, what's compulsory, your compulsory salawat. And wherever you're able to read your sunan, you try your best, especially those sunan which are muakkada. and then try to have some sort of qiyamul layl. Try two, even if it's 2 extra units of prayer. If you can't wake up in the last third of the night, no problem. Before you go to sleep, qiyamul layl is the whole night. After Isha, just 2 extra units of prayer. Try to read your salah as well as those 2 units of prayer in the best possible manner, as though you're conversing with Allah. And I promise you, you'll find a difference in your life. You'll find peace in your life. You'll find that at times things that you thought were not possible, impossible. Imagine that's a time where you're close to your Creator. Nobody's looking, nobody's watching. And that's why Allah praises certain acts of worship at night, especially Qiyamul Layl. Why? It's further away from the people. You alone generally, you're secluded, you have that time. Try. I promise you, take out, even start off with 5 minutes, start off with 2 units of prayer. If you're hafidh or you've memorized a little bit, read that little bit that you know. So 1 page, 2 pages, few pages. If you're not a hafidh, read your Fatiha and what you know, and whatever you're reading, try to know the meaning before that, because if you don't know Arabic, and then try to concentrate and think deeper. And just the fact that you're in front of the greatest and you're calling out to the greatest and you've left everything behind, there's not a better feeling in the whole world than being in that position. And that's why I heard a clip recently. It was of Mufti Menk speaking, and he was saying tahajjud. He mentioned an interesting point. He said tahajjud is an invite only salah. You're either invited or you're not. Talking about qiyamul layl, extra salawat. Especially, I remember I was Sheikh in Medina. He always used to tell us, a student of knowledge should have ibadat, especially qiyamul layl. You can't maintain such a long period of time. Start with even 2, 3, 4 minutes. But it will make a huge difference, inshallah. He then says, Ubayd ibn Umayr asked Aisha radiallahu anha, please tell us of the most amazing thing you ever saw about the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She radiallahu anha paused, then said, one night he sallallahu alaihi wasallam told me, will you let me worship my Lord tonight? I said, by Allah, I love you to be next to me, and I love that you pray to your Lord. She said, he sallallahu alaihi wasallam stood and made ablution without using much water, and then stood and prayed and continued crying until his beard was wet from his tears, and then prostrated and continued crying until the earth was wet from his tears. And then he sallallahu alaihi wasallam turned and lay down and continued crying until Bilal came to call the dawn prayer. When he saw him crying, he said, O Messenger of Allah, do you cry in this manner even though Allah has forgiven you what has preceded of your sins and what will come afterwards? He sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, O Bilal, why shouldn't I cry? And it has been revealed tonight the verse which means, indeed in the creation of the heavens and the earth and the alteration of the night and the day are signs for those of understanding. That's in the Fiqh al-Samawati wal-Ard. During the month of Ramadan, he sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to perform various acts of worship. He sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to give charity, recite the Quran, pray, and engage in dhikr and i'tikaf. As for voluntary forms of worship, he sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to fast many days in a row until people thought he would not stop fasting. And he sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to not fast many days in a row until people thought he would not fast. He sallallahu alayhi wasallam never fasted an entire month except the month of Ramadan, and he sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to fast the most during Sha'ban. Additionally, he sallallahu alayhi wasallam was keen on fasting Mondays and Thursdays. Inshallah, we'll stop there and we'll take this tomorrow. Also, when it comes to fasting, wherever you're able to fast voluntarily, fast voluntarily. And sometimes, depending on the place you are in your life, so you may be young, you have no responsibility, etc. It may be easy for you to fast. Try, because those 1-2 years you're able to do it, and then you may get busy, you're unable to do it. Qiyamul Layl, you may have time to read a long Qiyamul Layl. You may come a time where you're unable to, but whatever good deed you start, try to maintain it. reading extra Quran, etc. And there's certain acts of worship, especially when you're young, you're able to do them. One of them is seeking knowledge. When you get older, you get into a place of position. People need you. You've got deadlines, etc., to meet. You've got responsibility. Then it's very hard to seek knowledge. It's possible, but it's harder. So, mashallah, I'm sure all you people are quite young. Make the most of this time you have. Seek a lot of knowledge and practice upon your knowledge. And the more you practice, the more Allah will open your doors. Next book. Ibrahim, we had finished chapter 1 in this book. Tell me, summarize it for me in 3 sentences.
Basically, it's don't criticize people, and if you're going to criticize someone, try to do it tactfully or they can understand. So instead of criticizing, approach it a different way. Do suggestions.
Yeah, so basically he said that when you're dealing with human nature, every human being has their pride and ego, and no one likes to be attacked, criticized, condemned, etc. And people will justify whatever evil they did and they won't see it any better. So you've got to be able to get through in a different way. So he was trying to lay down that principle. Ya Allah, Ibrahim, you can carry on chapter 2, read.
Chapter 2 is the big secret of dealing with people. There is only one way under high heaven to get anybody to do anything. Did you ever stop to think that? Yes, just one way, and that is by making the other person want to do it. Remember, there is no other way. Of course, you can make someone want you to give you his watch by sticking a revolver in his ribs.
Revolver
You
meaning
can
a
make,
gun.
yeah, you can make your employees give you cooperation until your back is turned by threatening to fire them. You can make a child to do what you want it. You can make the child to do what you want it to do by a whip or a threat. But these crude methods have sharp, undeniable repercussions. The only way I can get you to do anything is by giving you what you want. What do you want? Sigmund Freud said that everything you and I do springs from 2 motives: the sex urge and the desire to be great. Sigmund Freud is a psychologist. John Dewey, one of America's most profound philosophers, phrased it a bit differently. Dr. Dewey said that the deepest urge in human nature is the desire to be important. Remember that phrase, the desire to be important. It is significant. You're going to hear a lot about that in this book.
Hold on, and one second. Generally, you find that people, when they're fighting in the whole world, they're fighting for one of 2 things. They're either fighting for that importance, jah, or they're fighting for wealth. They're fighting for money. Generally, you can boil down every fight to those 2. They're fighting for jah, that importance due to arrogance, position, pride, etc., or control, or they're fighting for money. If there's a third reason, think of it, but I don't think you're going to find. You can boil everything down to those 2. Carry on.
What do you want? Not many things, but the few that you do wish, you crave with an insistence that will not be denied. Some of the things most people want include 1, health and the preservation of life; 2, food; 3, sleep; 4, money and the things you will buy; 5, life in the hereafter; 6, sexual gratification; 7, the well-being of our children; 8, a feeling of importance. Almost all of these wants are usually gratified, all except 1. But there is one longing, almost as deep, almost as imperious as the desire for food and sleep, which is seldom gratified. It is what Freud calls the desire to be great. It is what Dewey calls desire to be important. Lincoln once began writing a letter saying, "Everybody likes a compliment." William James said, "The deepest principle in human nature is the craving to be appreciated." He didn't speak, mind you, of the wish or the desire or the longing to be appreciated. He said the craving to be appreciated. Here is a gnawing and unflattering human hunger. And the way individual who honestly satisfies this heart hunger will hold people in the palm of his or her hand, and even the undertaker will be sorry when he dies. The desire for a feeling of importance is one of the chief distinguishing differences between mankind and the animals. To illustrate, when I was a farm boy out in Missouri, my father bred the Duroc Jersey hogs and pedigree white-faced cattle. We used to exhibit our hogs and white-faced cattle at the country fairs and livestock shows throughout the Middle West. We won first prizes by the score. My father pinned his blue ribbons on a sheet of white muslin, and when his friends or visitors came to the house, he would get out of the long sheets of muslin. He would hold one end, and I would hold the other end while he exhibited the blue ribbons. The hogs didn't care about the ribbons; they had won, but father did. These prizes gave him a feeling of importance. If our ancestors hadn't had this flaming urge for a feeling of importance, civilization would have been impossible. Without it, we should have been just like animals.
It's true to a certain degree. What he's saying is that every human being generally craves or desires importance. You look, somebody who treated you well, they gave you that importance. Somebody who condemned you, etc., they didn't give you that importance, so you stick away from them. For example, you find that's why people's houses, you go, when they hang up, they have the trophy cabinets and they hang up their certificates as well as the achievement and all that. That's like a sign of appreciate what I've done. You've shown importance. Oh, you did this. Oh, mashallah, you achieved this, etc. It's human nature. Carry on, read a little bit more. Stop.
It was this desire for a feeling of importance that led an uneducated, poverty-stricken grocery clerk to study some law book he found at the bottom of a barrel of a household plunder that he had bought for 50 cents. You have probably heard of this grocery clerk. His name was Lincoln. It was his desire for a feeling of importance that inspired Dickens to write his immortal novels. This desire inspired Sir Christopher Wren to design his symphonies in stone. This desire made Rockefeller amass millions that he never spent. And this same desire made the richest family in your town to build a house far too large for its requirement. This desire makes you want to wear the latest styles, drive the latest cars, and talk about your brilliant children.
Think
In
about it. It's
this,
true. It's true. If generally speaking, I'm not going to anyone's intentions, but generally, if all that comes with what? A feeling of being important. Look at me, I got. Carry on.
it is this desire that lures many boys and girls into joining gangs and engaging in criminal activities. The average young criminal, according to E.P. Maloney, one-time police commissioner of New York, is filled with ego, and his first request after arrest is for those lurid newspapers that make him out a hero. The disagreeable prospect of serving time seems remote so long as he can gloat over his likeness sharing space with pictures of sports figures, movies, and TV stars and politicians.
Yeah, you can stop there.
All right.
Interesting. That's why in the hadith, they're speaking about the one who is, the Messenger says there's those who fight, but they only fight for being because they want to be remembered as those who were brave. يقال له شجاع, he was brave. He never want anything from Allah. يقال له قارئ, he learned how to read the Quran just so people call him a qari. And he gave sadaqah just so people call him someone who's generous. And it will be told to him, did you do this for Allah or you didn't? And he'll say, I did it for Allah. And they'll tell him, kadhabta, you lied. You did it so that you may be called these things. You did it because you wanted that importance from everybody else. And that's why sometimes people ask a question and say, oh, what do you think? They talk about leaving a legacy. My personal opinion, a controversial one nonetheless, but nobody cares. It doesn't matter. You've got more things to worry about when you've died, not what the people are thinking about you in the world. You've got to worry about what's coming for you. People can think you to have been the best, or they can think you to have been the worst. It doesn't matter at all. It's you and your deeds from there on. That legacy doesn't benefit you in any way. Yeah, if you left good deeds, it's different. But generally, when people are talking about legacy, they want to be remembered with goodness. They want to have that importance even after death. So imagine when they are alive. We carry on from there tomorrow, inshallah.